On February 2021, we published a video on this channel calling out the famous investor Cathie Wood. At the time, everyone and their mom thought Cathie was an investing genius. Her investment from ARK and its ETFs were going up and up and up, with $60 billion of the massive money in it. And her claim to fame was pitching herself as this genius tech investor by making these stupidly wild predictions about how Tesla was going to go this high, or how this tech stock was going to go this high.
This stock is heading for $7,000 over the next 5 years, is very high. And the longer the base, you say 5 years, the longer the base, the bigger the breakout.
At 7,000 plus versus 1,900 now, we're still well above that.
And how the future is going to be so bright, and how we're all going to get rich together by investing in these tech stocks that are going to change the world.
Think kind of Warren Buffett, but for the GameStop Reddit generation. Cathie Wood sees the future before the street does.
And it works. Cathie Wood was able to make average everyday people feel like they had a real shot of getting rich if they just bought into her ETF. An ETF that she collects insane fees from no matter if it goes up or crashes into the ground. One Lambo. But in that old video we made back in February 2021, me and our expert guest Arvid Ali saw right through her charade. In that old video, we exposed that Cathie Wood was not some tech investing genius. She doesn't even have a background in tech.
So one is she doesn't know anything about technology based on her background. There isn't a single point of indication that she understands the first thing about any piece of technology. Then she also points to her analysts being industry insiders in all these different industries. Again, I looked at all their LinkedIn profiles. They have about as much expertise in any of these technologies as the average Reddit users. Again, I don't really see how her stock portfolio is any better than the average 12-year-olds.
And at the end of this video, Arvid made a bold prediction.
And as soon as they get everyone's money, they collect as many fees as they can, and very quickly the performance of that ETF largely underperforms the rest of the market. So typically you'll see like a big wave up and a big wave down. And
that's right, he predicted that ARK would collapse. And in his video that he posted on his channel also in February 2021, he predicted that ARK would collapse by 80 to 90% by comparing it to past Wall Street scams that it looked like she copied from.
What happened with guru Gerald Tsai's innovation fund ultimately? His investors lost 90% of their money. So what happened to Janus? Once the 1990s tech bubble finally burst, their fund lost up to 84% of their investors' money.
And we were shocked by the hate comments we got. I like Cathie. Cathie is amazing. For us, people like Cathie are a safe bet. Her operation is legitimate, trustworthy, genuine. Go Cathie. Cathie. She's so transparent. The one thing Cathie was about 30% of my liquidity. She has a reason. I'm glad due diligence because videos come out. However, I don't quite agree with this. Then I can keep mine. Cathie will go down in history as one of the best fund managers of all time. Well then, let's see if Cathie Wood did indeed go down as one of the best fund managers of all time. Oh, would you look at that? Exactly as Arvid predicted. ARK reached its peak price the month we posted that video, and then it collapsed by 80%. Today, ARK is still down by around 70%, which is a nice way of saying that Miss Cathie Wood over here took $60 billion of the life savings of average everyday Americans, gambled it on a bunch of risky tech stocks that she knew wasn't gonna work, and then inevitably lost almost all of it. And then guess what? Thanks to the way her fee structure was set up, she didn't experience any of these losses. No, she walked away scot-free with something like $250 million of your money. You lost almost everything while she is now a quarter of a billionaire. And unlike people like Elizabeth Holmes and Sam Bankman-Fried who are really bad at committing fraud, today no one is mad at Cathie for anything. No lawsuits, no hate, no one even knows they got. But Jake, I mean the entire market has been sideways. No risk, no worry, right? Maybe she really did believe that these tech stocks were gonna go to the moon. At least she's in the arena trying stuff. Can we really know that she had bad intent? Just listen to her talk, she sounds like a nice caring mom. It's not her fault, right? Well, actually, yes, it is her fault, because this exact same scheme she pulled off has been done over and over and over again.
Since the 1950s, there have been a lot of these Cathie Wood type figures. Specifically, the most famous one was Gerald Tsai, and then there have been other individuals and institutions that have done this. But every single time they run this playbook of claiming that they're the next genius who can really pick stocks, and specifically they can pick these stocks that align themselves to future technologies, and they're going to make you billions of dollars by doing this, they always have their funds go down by up to 90%. And it's been happening over and over again.
And by the way, Arvid Ali is the former president of Jordan Belfort's companies, yes, the real Wolf of Wall Street. He's the advisor that celebrities, pro athletes, and billionaires go to when they want help growing their income. And he graduated with a degree in mathematics at the age of 19 from UCLA, and he also went to law school. Today, he's also an advisor to a US State Attorney General, and that's why he's not scared to call out people like Cathie Wood.
I'm not scared because I have a law background, but more importantly, they know full well they'll have to be subject to discovery, meaning all their emails and text messages of both themselves and all their employees will be revealed if they ever went into a legally contentious situation, because it's very easy to prove that a single sentence one time was made with an intention to defraud simply because they knew that they were lying.
Which is why he was the only person that was able to see through her charade all the way back in 2021. See, everyone likes to hate on the obvious scammers who get caught, Elizabeth Holmes, Sam Bankman-Fried, and so on. But the truth is that these people are the worst at scamming because they got caught. They're sloppy, they're not good at committing fraud.
The people who get caught are actually pretty bad at fraud. They don't have a good end game, they didn't think this through, they don't really know how to trick people, they just kind of, get excited, create some hype, but they have no idea what they're doing. But the more sophisticated fraudsters are the people who never get into any sort of trouble like Cathie would.
Which makes Cathie one of the best of them all. Tens of billions lost, and yet she's still a multi-millionaire, and yet no one is up in arms. And now it looks like she's trying to do it all over again, and that's why we're making this video. And you know what the real nail in the coffin is that we just found out? Is that Cathie Wood's mentor is none other than Bill Hwang. Ah yes, you might remember Bill Hwang as the disgraced fund manager of ARK Capital Management that lost $20 billion in just 2 days and still walked away with all his fees, just like his mentee Cathie.
It was fraud.
And then got indicted on fraud and racketeering.
Wang, along with Archegos CFO, were charged by federal prosecutors with racketeering, conspiracy, securities fraud, and wire fraud.
This is the guy that provided the seed capital for Cathie's ETFs. After all, if I wanted to rip off the public, this would be the only mentor I would want. Stay dangerous, subscribe for more, and let's get into it. If you've been hurt by a giant corporation, then you have to sue them. Because not only do they have plenty of money to pay you, but suing them is the only way to keep them in check. The problem is suing costs a lot of money. But luckily, that is where this law firm called Morgan & Morgan comes in. With Morgan & Morgan, you only pay if they win your case. That means you can take on these powerful people without having to spend a single dollar out of pockets. All you gotta do is go to forthepeople.com/JakeTran with the link below. You can submit your case in 8 clicks or less without ever having to leave your chair, and that's it. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm, and they are good. They recently won a giant case against 3M that could top $12.5 billion over the years, and much, much more. But aside from the money, this picture really sums up what they're all about. They've got 100 offices all across America and over 800 expert lawyers that deal in all types of cases, from car accidents to negligence, to class action lawsuits to workplace discrimination. But because they only get paid if they win, they do have to be selective about the cases they bring on. So pause the video, scroll down, and click the link below to go to forthepeople.com/JakeTran to submit your case now. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. Cathie Wood and Bill Hwang met each other at church one day and immediately hit it off. They both shared the belief that they could rely on their faith to help them out with business decisions. How sweet, right? Wouldn't you want your money manager relying on their faith? See, Bill had turned $200 million into a $20 billion fortune that made Bill one of the richest men on the planet. Except this empire was built on a house of cards. A house of cards of risky bets and 5-to-1 leverage. That's why in just 2 days he lost $20 billion. It was the fastest implosion in the history of finance. Yet despite losing all his clients' money, and his company becoming one of the greatest financial failures of all time, Bill still walked away a very, very rich man. His former employees said that even though their bank accounts were completely wiped out when Archegos went under, Bill Hwang is still likely a billionaire through his personal investments and holdings, like the seed money he put into ARK. Bill Hwang's collapse came in early 2021, but it was but a preview for what was to come for his mentee, Cathie Wood. See, what happened to Bill Hwang and Cathie Wood is the only possible outcome when you run this playbook of getting people to invest in technology. Which brings us to step number 1, don't have a technology background. See, you would think that in order to know what tech stocks are gonna blow up next, it would help if you know you had a background in tech, maybe engineering, maybe in AI, all the things that Cathie hypes up. But no, Arvid pulled up her LinkedIn back in February 2021 in his video, and would you look at that? No.
Has the leader Cathie spent 1 day working in tech or science in her entire life? No.
Since then, Cathie Wood has wiped her LinkedIn clean, so now it only says ARK. With zero tech experience, that means she is just a pure Wall Street predator through and through. She started as a fund manager at AllianceBernstein, an investment firm managing $5 billion in assets. At AllianceBernstein, she made the mind-blowing achievement of a 0.81% annual investment return rate for her clients over the span of 10 years. Yes, that is right. She got less than a 1% annual return rate from 2001 to 2011. Sounds pretty genius to me. But think about it, at least you still got to pay her 3% annual fee that she happily took.
Why don't the basement-dwelling plebs realize this? Well, Cathie has one skill that you must master: the art of fake graphs and deceptive numbers. Yes. Like our savior Cathie, you must only showcase your fake theoretical gains in a pretty graph and hide the fact that your fees took away from most of your clients' profits in the fine print.
A later analysis of her record there found her investments to be highly volatile and produce underwhelming long-term results, end quotes. In other words, Cathie took super risky bets that didn't really pay off, kinda like today. One of her colleagues said that Cathie was viewed as brilliant, but also not institutional. That's why Cathie decided that she didn't want to be part of the institution anymore. She wanted to do anything she pleased with her clients' money on her own terms. So just as things were going sour between Cathie and her employer in 2012, something magical happened, according to her. She was sitting completely alone in her home on a picturesque day in August. Her 3 kids were all away at camp, and it was there in that complete silence that she received what she called a divine calling from the Holy Spirit, end quotes. Well, I really feel that was the Holy Spirit just saying to me, okay, this is the plan, end quotes. So at age 57, she followed God's instructions. And that is the story behind her creating ARK. I mean, this ARK. That was the origin story of the genius tech investor. Now, doing something this ambitious may sound hard, but luckily for Cathie, she had just the frosters to model. Say hello to Gerald Sy. Gerald Sy was basically the Cathie Wood of the 50s and 60s, except he was way more successful than his future people, because Gerald Sy became a billionaire doing this. See, in the late 50s and 60s, Gerald Sy pitched himself as this genius tech investor that started an aggressive growth fund in 1958 under Fidelity Investments. He would later create the Manhattan Fund, another aggressive growth fund in 1965, where he would hype up the tech stocks of the time, like Xerox and the Polaroid Corporation. But by 1968, Gerald Sy sold his interest in the funds. I guess he didn't believe in the future anymore. And would you look at that? A year later in 1969, the funds collapsed by 90%. And was Gerald Sy affected by this collapse? No, he would still die as a billionaire. Sound familiar? Well, it should, because this is also what happened in the 90s during the dot-com bubble, with another growth fund called Janus that also lost everyone's money while the fund managers walked away rich. So with these role models in hand, it was now Cathie's turn to fool the next generation. It was 2012 when she had her divine intervention, and by that time, there was already a brand new generation of investors that weren't around to get burned during the dot-com bubble. A brand new generation that would be the perfect mark for the future. Which brings us to step number 2, give the plebs a sense of meaning. See, all of us, especially today when God is dead, all yearn for a sense of meaning, for a sense of purpose. And that is the void that Cathie tapped into. Cathie tapped into that thing inside all of us that wants to believe in a brighter future. She made us believe that investing our money with her wouldn't just make us rich, but it will also contribute to something bigger than ourselves, that we will be helping transform the world. AI, eradicating poverty, space travel. You could be part of this and get rich at the same time. And this message went viral. You could see the glimmer in the plebs' eyes now. And once you fool everyone into parting with their life savings, it's time to move on to the next step, making a ton of insane predictions until one of them randomly turns out to be true. Her first major claim to fame was her Tesla stock prediction. Ah yes, it was 2014, everyone knew about Tesla stock already, but she predicted that Tesla stock would soon skyrocket, along with a ton of other predictions that all turned out to be wrong that everyone forgot about. At the time, Tesla was ARK's largest holding. Many people pointed out that her previous stock predictions had flopped. But when confronted with this criticism, Cathie simply said, quote, "The truth will win out," end quote. And that truth came in 2021, when Tesla stock started going crazy. And suddenly, her stock predictions seemed to be coming true. On January 7, 2021, Tesla hit that $4,000 mark a whole 2 years ahead of her prediction, when you account for the 5-to-1 stock split that happened shortly before. On top of that, Cathie saw some of the best returns in the history of money management in 2020.
You're having one of the best years in the history of professional money management,
catapulting her into one of the most talked about celebrities in the investment world. Suddenly, this religious lady everyone thought was crazy maybe was a genius. And just like that, people were YOLOing their life savings into ARK. And this is pretty crazy to think about. A lady making a prediction about a stock that everyone knew about in 2014, that everyone was buying, that everyone was speculating would go to the moon, and yet now she's some kind of a genius?
Elon Musk, roughly around 2008 to 2010, he became very well known, especially Tesla became very well known, and then he decided to go public as a company. And after he went public in 2010, there have probably been millions of investors, either directly or indirectly through funds, that have invested into Tesla. It's probably been one of the most well-covered and sort of like mainstream company to talk about since they went public. Like even in my case, I had my dad put his entire life savings into Tesla since 2013. And it wasn't because I was this lone sort of wolf that figured this out. There's millions of investors who were fully bought into Tesla way before Cathie Wood created ARK. So the fact that she came in and said that she's the genius that found Tesla when there's been so many investors into Tesla and it's been a mainstream company to invest into for so long is the thing that really shocks me. The fact that people even believe that is sort of beyond my comprehension.
I guess Arvid's dad should have created his own innovation fund too. But regardless, Cathie would take this newfound proof in her skills to get the masses to cough up around $50 billion of their money in assets under management. And you gotta give it to her. She is a smart cookie.
The thing that she's done well is just market herself extremely well as this sort of wise old person who is the pioneer of finding innovative companies, but also some sort of old sage expert in knowing what real traditional investment is. So she's played this role really well. And funny enough, the one thing she did learn from Elon Musk is how to market herself as some genius.
And then she just rinse and repeat.
Because what she did was primarily say that you should invest into companies that make no money and they have some magical dream of the future. And so the angle is this, is like, hey, look at all these old large companies that are worth billions of dollars. Clearly they have to get replaced by the innovative new young companies, and I'm gonna be some genius who finds these innovative companies. In truth, all that's going on is there's a random group of small companies that have beautiful pipe dreams for the future. They have no idea how to really run businesses, and they try their best to create technologies. 99% of the time, it never really works out.
And once you have the masses' money, it's time to sit back, relax, and collect your fees. Cathie charges around a 0.75 management fee on her funds. And on the surface to the average pleb, 0.75% seems like nothing, a small number. Of course she charges fees. You gotta pay the wise old lady something, but that is the trick. These fees are meant to appear small, when in reality, if she had $50 billion under management like she did at the peak, no matter if her funds go up or crashes, she is gonna collect $375 million every year like clockwork. Over $1/3 billion every year. For what? Buying stocks that any of us can buy on Robinhood? Putting together pretty purple charts in PowerPoint in her well-researched reports? To pay for her super sophisticated team of tech experts that have never worked a day in tech according to their LinkedIn in 2021? Once again, Arvid went through her team's LinkedIn in 2021.
Has the leader Cathie spent one day working in tech or science in her entire life? No. What about Tom, her chief operating officer and the president of ARK ETFs? Not at all. Leading ARK is actually his first real job out of college. And back when he was in college, he spent most of his time as a salesperson for a local TV station and as a college sports announcer. Impressively, he also spent a few months doing some tax accounting work and was on the board of a club in college. Such a tech whiz, huh? What about her Tesla genius, Tasha Keeney? Has she ever accomplished or built anything in tech? Again, not at all. She did some research internships and assistant jobs during college, and then worked for a tiny little consulting firm where her job description included sales cold calling and communicating operating expenses. If you keep going with this, you'll quickly find that pretty much every single person at ARK Invest does not have a single clue about what they're talking about when it comes to science, technology, or any form of innovation. What they're good at is marketing their pretty purple PowerPoints.
But it didn't matter. Every year, the best performing asset class randomly changes. One year, it will be tech stocks. One year, it will be REITs. The next year, it will be gold or bonds. And this time around with Cathie Wood, it happened to be tech stocks. It randomly happened to be Cathie Wood's time to shine. And as ARK started blowing up, as the hype kept building on top of each other, it just became a self-reinforcing cycle.
ARK went up so high because you guys bought into it. It's the same as any Ponzi scheme, really. And so that's why Ponzi schemes work, is that if there's good marketing, people will invest into the Ponzi scheme, and the stocks that she's investing into, people will just directly invest into those stocks too. And generally speaking, everyone will get excited because they think that they figured it out and they see, the graph going up, but really it was just your money fueling, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone feels like it's a big hype. They pump up the stock that way, but then as soon as the fundamentals kick in, which which is that the economy, even slightly adjusts into the negative, then reality hits the fan, and they quickly see that these companies aren't going to ever make any money, and these were terrible companies to begin with, so everyone floods to take their money out at the same time.
As Arvid said, when it comes to this type of scheme, all it takes is just one tiny correction for it to all come tumbling down. And lucky for Cathie, it didn't matter, because you already pocketed your fees. The genius of Cathie Wood is that when it did come tumbling down, no one blamed her.
At the heart of it, she is stealing money, because even though, her investors are losing billions of dollars, she gets to collect her management fees. And that's that beautiful little ETF structure that she created, which is, hey, even if you have a small amount of money, even if you're poor, hand me your money and I promise I'll make you rich. But if I don't make you rich, then, I get to go home at night rich myself. And that's what happened with Gerald Tsai. He made off as a billionaire to the best of my knowledge. And same thing with Janice, the firm made billions of dollars. They didn't face any consequences really. And she has made more money actually than most billionaires that I know in terms of real personal income, and she's faced no consequences for doing so. So by having the structure where it's just this management fee, it's not, she's presenting it as if she didn't just steal your money, but she absolutely stole your money, which is at the heart of what's really happening.
Here's the thing. Statistically, with how long Cathie was in the finance game, this was bound to happen sooner or later. Quote, from our side of the table, none of this is shocking about Cathie Wood. I've seen this movie before, end quotes, said Carson Block, an investor who is known for exposing corporate frauds. Quote, it's not that you were really that brilliant, you were just long, end quotes. As shown by her less than 1% return 10-year track record. She was just in the game long enough to get lucky. And this is how all of Wall Street is, by the way. Cathie's operation was just really impressive.
They brag about it, they love the fact that they somehow tricked people. And that's why I stay very far away from that industry after being exposed to what these people are like. And I would just never, honestly, there isn't a single person who is a public figure in the investment space that I would ever say is remotely even 1% trustworthy. Their entire private obsession is how to steal money from people. And that's the culture of Wall Street.
I have never played Wall Street, the stock market itself, because to me, Jordan, it feels like it's just a casino. The house always wins.
Well,
is it that or not?
It's worse than that. It's a
Really?
corrupt casino. In a regular casino, the odds are stacked against you, by a small percentage. In some games, they're very close, but
Right.
the house might have a 3% or a 7% edge. But imagine if you go into a casino where the dice are also loaded against you. So not only are the odds against you by the nature of the game, but then the dice are loaded against you, or the blackjack dealer is dealing from the bottom. Then you have no shot of winning.
And unlike degenerates like Elizabeth Holmes or SBF, these Wall Street fraudsters will always get away with it.
And they get away with it because they have this vibe, really more than anything else, that they're sophisticated and they're well-intentioned, and they talk about corporations and they talk about annual reports and earnings and stuff to make the regular person feel like there's a science to it. But honestly, everything that they're saying is nonsense. They don't even understand a single thing about any business. Most of them have never created a real business in their life. They have no idea what they're talking about, and they don't even understand anything about accounting. Like when I actually dive into accounting with any of these people who claim to be some sort of geniuses in finance, they don't really understand, their left hand from the right hand. They're just really good at marketing. It's a very well-known fact that stock picking is just doesn't work, period. And it's been proven scientifically so many times now. And there's a famous example with Monkey picking stocks better than most professional investment fund managers, and it's totally true. Nobody in Wall Street thinks that you can actually pick stocks and get rich, except if you're doing insider trading. Insider trading actually works. That's why it's illegal. But outside of insider trading, there is no way that you're gonna, pick these sort of stocks consistently over many years any better than a monkey throwing darts.
I came across a quote from the economist Burton Malkiel, the author of A Random Walk Down Wall Street. He said a blindfolded monkey throwing darts at a newspaper's financial page could select a portfolio that would do just as well as one carefully selected by experts. The motive behind such a crass remark was to emphasize that not even the most intelligent investors can consistently beat the market. So if a monkey is able to replicate the same job as some of the most educated professionals in the world, then that's something to consider.
So why don't all of us recognize that people like Cathie are fraudsters? Simple. It's because these Wall Street types have mastered the art of making it feel like you didn't get scammed, when in fact you definitely got scammed.
Losing other people's money to such a dramatic degree and they suffer no consequences, those are the genius fraudsters. Like, in that way, she is a genius in my opinion. At the heart of it, most people think that she is somebody who had really good intentions and she's now sad in the same way that you're sad that things didn't work out. That's absolutely not the case in my opinion. She made out actually making more money than most billionaires in terms of true income, and she lost the money of her investors in the tune of probably tens of billions of dollars. And at the end of the day, the question is, do you feel like you were tricked or not? That's at the heart of it. Was she scheming this thing the whole time? Was she very conscious of what she was doing? And based on the fact that she exclusively hired these young marketers and no real scientists and no real, technology experts or no real investment experts, that to me speaks volumes that this whole time, she was very aware of what she was doing. She was very opportunistic in seeing that there was a new crowd of young investors, and she hasn't been getting into trouble simply because the vibe that she gave off the whole time is that she was well-intentioned.
And now it looks like Cathie Wood is trying to run her scam all over again, despite everything that's happened. Now that it's been a while since ARK crashed, and everyone kind of forgot about her misdeeds, she's now back on the news making TV appearances again, she's making super bold predictions again, and somehow the news is getting filled with positive stories about ARK.
Talk about these ETFs, and then I want to go broad and sort of get your sense of where the market is and where crypto's going and what's happening here. But tell us about these ETFs specifically and what you're trying to do.
Yes, with our partner 21 Shares, which is the largest crypto ETP provider in the world, mainly European focused. We are launching 5 ETFs.
Like this one, Cathie Wood just had her best month ever. So the masses are starting to trust Cathie Wood again. In November 2023, despite all the money Cathie has lost, she raked in another $150 million in investments for ARK. Maybe an ARK 2.0 comeback really is on the horizon. She's now even targeting the poor Europeans, since they're a fresh new segment of the population that hasn't gotten to experience how wonderful it is to invest with Cathie.
Cathie Wood says she's aiming for European investors.
But at the end of the day, it will be the same playbook. She'll wait for tech stocks to soar again, which it randomly will. She'll say she's a genius again, everyone will YOLO in, and once the economy tumbles just a tiny bit again, ARK will crash and she'll walk away with another $250 million or something. And that is why we're making this video. To warn you that when you hear that Cathie Wood is back, or that there's this new genius investor with this new fund, you know to take your money and run for the hills. And the worst part is that these genius investor types make people feel insecure about themselves. I wish I was a genius like her, she's so sophisticated, I'll never be smart like that. When in reality, behind closed doors, these people are no smarter than you and I. They're just more sick in the head.
So, at the heart of it, these public figures who kind of get away with what they're doing, I don't think that people should be idolizing them, because at the heart of it, it makes you feel like your own life isn't as good as theirs. And all they did was sort of trick the public. And so I know plenty of these people now privately. I think, pretty much every billionaire in the world I'm connected to either directly or through one degree of connection away. And not one person really has a life that you would want for yourself, and the type of people that they are. I've never really met billionaires that, I would ever want, their lifestyle. So basically I relaunched my YouTube channel, and I want to make it a focus for people to realize that, number one, you don't need to idolize these people, and I'll walk you through exactly what they really did to make their money and why you would never want to do it. But then number two, there are so many people who ethically actually make money, whether it's the local tutor or a plumber or any of these people that are actually in servitude to society. They are, if they do a really good job and they really know how to grow their business, they're actually able to make plenty of personal income without hurting anybody in the process. So that's the thing that I want to focus on in terms of any of the trainings that I provide, is exactly what can you do to, grow your income if you want to, but in a way where you're happy with yourself and people are genuinely happy with you, and exactly what these people who everyone idolizes, like what is really going on behind the scenes. And I don't have any investment firm. I don't have any sort of corporation where I need investors. I'm simply somebody who's here to expose everything that I can and provide direct training into exactly how to grow your income in a way that you're really happy with yourself and people are genuinely happy with you long term.
Arvid recently put out a free 1-hour training on his YouTube channel that goes super deep into this exact strategy that he recommends if you want to multiply your income and you have a 9-to-5 job, or you're self-employed or a solopreneur. I've listened to it and I was shocked at how thoroughly he thought through every single little thing, and it's by far one of the best, most thorough business trainings I've ever gone through. And it's completely free, so click the card on the screen or click the link below to watch now. Arvid has been my business advisor for years. He's the one who taught me how to scale this channel, so I can't recommend him enough. And if you're interested in taking a one-on-one call with him afterwards, you can book a call with the link in the description of that video. So click the card on the screen or click the link below to watch now.